Now, there are a variety of reasons for people to leave their homes to start a new life. Gang violence, pandemic-fueled poverty, and the aftermath of natural disasters, all playing into migrants' decisions to leave. Matt Rivers is just back from Honduras with some of their stories.
John, we've spoke to a lot of migrants one-on-one over the past couple of months, especially here in Mexico, migrants coming from Central America, and we hear these consistent stories. There's a lack of opportunity, there's chronic violence, there's chronic corruption, and so we wanted to go to one of those Central American countries, go to Honduras, to see exactly what those migrants that we've been speaking to are talking about.
Twin 17-year-olds Gerardo and Celine were born and raised in Choloma, Honduras, in a gang-run neighborhood in one of the most dangerous countries in the world. They live in abject poverty, but for the boys, it's home, and they'll miss it because they're about to leave for the United States. At the bedroom they share, they show us their new prized possessions, the brand new shoes they'll use to make the minimum 1,500-mile journey to the U.S., mostly on foot.
¿Cuándo van a salir? Como el 17 de este mes o el 20. So they're planning on leaving like the 17th or the 20th of this month with these clothes here that they're going to bring with them.
Pues mal se siente uno porque...
Gerardo says it feels terrible because we're going to leave my mother, but we have no future here. They'll join the tens of thousands of other Hondurans who've streamed into the U.S. this year, leaving behind one of the poorest countries on earth. Northward migration isn't new, but the conditions forcing people to flee, arguably, have never been worse. Starting with twin Category 4 hurricanes that made landfall late last year just 2 weeks apart, utterly decimating this region. People lost everything, and half a year later, hardly anything is back to normal.
¿Cómo están?
We meet a family who built a makeshift shelter on top of their old home after it was subsumed by mud during hurricane flooding. We lost everything, says this man. I want to leave because I can't find a job. There's no support from the government. And just up the street, we meet another family, another home wiped out during the storm.
¿Y has recibido algún tipo de apoyo del gobierno? Nada.
Water leaks right through the walls of their shelter, made of old doors and tarps.
They sleep on mattresses that are on a dirt floor in a house made out of makeshift supplies.
We're desperate, he tells us. We don't have a choice, saying he'll soon be forced to migrate north, too.
It's hard to believe that more than 6 months after this hurricane, authorities have done so little here to try and help people clean up. I mean, look at this. What used to be a house, it got completely filled up with mud during the hurricane, and now obviously the family that lived here can't come back.
In response, the government told CNN they have been making repairs, giving us this video of some of their work. They said repairs like this take time and that back-to-back hurricanes would be difficult for any country to deal with. Critics, though, from citizens to NGOs, say their efforts haven't been nearly enough. And making the recovery worse, all this damage came during a different kind of storm, the pandemic. A government-mandated shutdown and COVID-19 restrictions meant unemployment soared, and around half of Hondurans now live below the poverty line, says the World Bank. If they had more opportunities, people wouldn't have to leave this country, says this local priest. For now, they'll take the time they have with each other, because in a few days, the boys will likely end up here. A bus station where every night a bus leaves for the Guatemala border. From there, many make a reluctant walk north. This family of 4 plans to do just that. We can't take it anymore, this dad says, saying there's no jobs or good education for his kids. We've got no other option but to leave.
Now, some of these neighborhoods we went to were extremely dangerous. In many places, we had to let local gang leaders know that we were going to be there just so there weren't any surprises. We spent 5 or 6 days on the ground in Honduras, and I think all politics aside, if there's one thing that our team took away from this, is that if you want less migrants to arrive at the southern U.S. border, you have to give them reasons to stay. John?
Christopher Sabatini joins me now from London. He's a senior fellow for Latin America at Chatham House and a professor at Columbia University. Christopher, just reflecting on that package you just saw from Matt Rivers, it makes the point you hear from the Biden administration and Vice President Harris about the need to address root causes. My question to you is, what are the actions that the United States can take that has proven to be able to stem the tide of these migrants with regard to dealing with root causes?
Well, first of all, that was a good package because it does indicate just how systemic these challenges are. And you're right, it's going to take some time. These are questions of lack of social mobility, lack of opportunity. And with that has come sort of the violence and insecurity that the report talked about. And those are systemic issues. They're not going to be solved overnight. You have to, first of all, address government capacity. And that's not something that you do very quickly and turn around. There are decades, if not centuries, of governments and states that are ineffective in delivering education, ineffective in generating jobs, ineffective in creating the sort of predictable and stable environment that's necessary for investment and job growth. But you also have problems in terms of delivering education, delivering police forces and security that provide both sort of the context in which people live and provide them the sort of stability that they need, but also the ability to track jobs and investment in the country. And these are things that the United States is going to try to address through development assistance, but it's going to take much more than that. Just throwing money at this problem when governments are so ineffective and there's such skewed inequality or distribution of resources is a very long-term problem for which there's no easy solution.
That is a very tall order as a matter of policy. Of course, another contributing factor throughout the region is political repression. That's why I want to turn to Nicaragua. I noticed a tweet from Julie Chung. She's the acting U.S. Assistant Secretary in the Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs. And here's what she said. Quote, presidential candidate Felix Madrigal's arbitrary arrest, third Nicaraguan opposition leader arrested in 10 days, should resolve any remaining doubt about Ortega's credentials as a dictator. The international community has no choice but to treat him as such. Now, that's tough talk from the State Department. The sanctions on Ortega's inner circle are tough actions. But is it enough when you're dealing with someone like Ortega?
That's exactly the question is, sanctions can try to attempt to impose some pain on these individuals, and that's what these sanctions are doing. These are not sanctions against the country per se. There are those, but these are trying to tighten the latitude for movement and the ability to gain resources and travel even for the members of the Ortega family and those around him in response to this repression. But you're right, we can't really measure the level of cruelty and the need for these governments and officials to stay in power. First of all, for as long as they're in power, they have impunity, and they know darn well there is effectively a price on their head. Once they step down from power, they will likely be arrested if they travel. They'll likely have to spend time in jail for their crimes against humanity. So they're doing everything they can to stay in power. And sanctions simply are just going to up the ante a little bit. They may impose a cost, but what we're really looking at here is some form of defection within the government where people, those around Ortega, because he's not going to step down easily for the reasons that you say. And somebody just to defect and say, well, my time is better spent not with this guy. I'm just going to basically turn him in and change government.
All right. Christopher Sabatini from Chatham House. It's a complicated issue and a crucial part of the world. Thank you very much.